Hey, out here on a sunny day in Indiana. Hey, I'm telling you, Indianapolis has some great weather. I'm telling you, if you haven't been here before, I don't know, you guys may be viewing from all over the world, but if you haven't been to Indianapolis before, I mean, we have some great weather. We have some tolerable weather. Hey, this is Derek from Marriage and the Repair Shop. Hey, I just did a short on marriage disagreements. This video probably be about 10 minutes, so I want to chime in just on some bigger issues, some a little more meat. You know, I know today's society, our attention spans are short attention spans, but for those of you that like videos and longer detailed messages, I don't want to leave you out. You know, I want to actually include you into the message of marriage. Too late. I already have on my nifty difty hat. So if you look at my videos, you see most videos I have a hat on, and that's the trend that I'm trying to go. But one thing I want to talk about is in marriages. Have you ever noticed that marriages don't end because couples disagree? The struggle is because they don't know how to disagree. Okay, that's the real struggle. One thing about that is when we are in a disagreement, we actually some couples, I shouldn't say all, so I'm not putting everybody in a basket, but we actually begin to look at our spouses as the enemy. And that should not be the case. Your spouse is not the enemy. The problem is not just one problem, but the problem can be multiple problems. Have you ever been like in a relationship, in an argument, and let's say, for example, you had a topic that you wanted to discuss with your spouse, and as you guys were discussing that topic actually opened up discussions to other topics. So now what happened is you have now what they said in elementary school is you have a short version and you have an expanded version. So you wanted that topic to be more of a short version, but that topic turned into an expanded version because everything else in between that had not been said down the road has come out in that discussion. Now, sometimes that discussion does not remain a discussion. That discussion turns into a great big argument. And then you kind of walk away and you say, wow, why, how did that happen? Well, one thing is because one of our biggest mistakes as couples is we treat each other like the enemy. So as we begin to discuss, regular points and regular topics, you begin to look at your spouse as your opponent because at that point you want to win. You have something you want to say and you want to win. Whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, you want to win. You want your point to be heard, you want your point to be understood, and you want to know that your point got across correctly. Now, I'm going to say this. In an argument, your point never comes across correctly. Your point never comes across to the point where your spouse will understand it because in an argument setting, you always say something that is not right for that environment, if you get what I'm saying. I'm a person that I've been there, done that before. And sometimes I think back and I'm like, man, I bet my wife didn't get too much of anything that I said after I said that point. Because sometimes, we take jabs, okay? We do. We take jabs. So when we begin to attack each other, uh, what jabs, when I say attack each other and jabs, I mean, we start attacking character. That wasn't even the first part of the discussion. The discussion was about maybe why you leave your gym shoes in the front door where people trip over. Now all of a sudden we talking about you don't cook, you don't clean, you don't wash. I mean, you got a bunch of topics that have come out now and then you wonder like, okay, now I'm being attacked. But see, when you start to attack, That's when you begin to cause the line of relationship to begin to break. Okay? Attacking, if you can remember this, attacking is never a winner to any discussion in your relationship. Okay? Conversation, communication, slowing down, listening, taking notes, mental notes, and understanding what is really happening here is the key to an evolving relationship. Now, let me say something here. So you may say, okay, I see what's happening here. I see what's going on, but you don't have to discuss that in that point of communication at that point in time. Because why? Because you've already, if you're arguing, you've already breached the communication cycle. You've already breached it. You've already went to the point of no return. So forget that. Keep that in your mental Rolodex. Some of y'all too young for that, but keep that in your mental Rolodex and begin to use that, talk about that in the future so you won't ever have these issues again. Because communication is one thing that you have to ask yourself first in communication. Am I trying to solve the problem or am I trying to win the argument? In my book, Marriage in the Repair Shop, winning the argument is not a great result, because winning the argument does not mean that you have caused the relationship to grow. Winning the argument means you just won the argument. But have you broken the cord in the relationship? Have you broken the trust? Have you broken the engagement? Have you broken things in the relationship that will not, that will take longer to repair off of a 3 or 4 minute conversation that you just had? So winning the argument is not always the game plan. You want to, first of all, ask yourself, am I trying to solve a problem? It's not about that. It's not about winning. It's about protecting your relationship. In most cases, hopefully in communication, when we communicate, hopefully we're communicating to actually win for each other, to actually win, to allow our marriage to look good before God. Because one thing that we always like to, we want to always avoid a few things in marriages. You want to avoid in these conversations, you always do this, or you want to avoid you never, or you want to avoid remember 5 years ago. You want to avoid those things because these words, they rarely solve anything. They actually cause a harder rebuttal. They actually cause a person to rebut a lot harder, and then that takes you down another rabbit trail. Get what I'm saying? So you're not solving anything. Instead, focus on today's issue. Okay? Don't get distracted by what happened 5 years ago. Don't get distracted by you nevers. Don't get distracted by remember you always do this. Don't get distracted by that. Focus on today's issue and fix today's issue. That's the key. If you focus on today's issue and fix today's issue, then tomorrow will work itself out. Okay. Although you have a lot of other things, I'm going to tell you this, in a disagreement of communication, one thing that I would say is don't put too many things on the table. What did you come to the table with? Okay. I came to the table with X, Y, Z. Okay. So let's talk about X. Let's talk about Y. Let's talk about Z. We're not going to go back to A, B, and C. Let's table A, B, and C, and we'll come back to that at a later date. But get an understanding with your spouse that, hey, when we come back to this at a later date, then we're going to talk about these issues. But today, we're not going to talk about these issues. We're going to talk about what you came to the table with. Ephesians 4:29, as I begin to wrap this up, it says, do not let unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. It says, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. Do our spouses have needs? Do I, as a husband, have a need? Does my wife have a need? Your focus should be, how can I build my spouse up?